Good morning everyone, hope you're all happy and well. It's Carol here at Collage Journals. I've got my paperwork in front of me for Margarete Miller's assignment number 46 today. Here's the prompts, here's the pieces that I've chosen. The first prompt is steampunk or mechanical. Well, we had mechanical in an assignment a couple of weeks back, so I've gone with steampunk. And actually, I love anything that is sci-fi, futuristic or steampunk. Anything along those lines ticks all the boxes for me. So I found this lovely image. I particularly like it because of all the rust colour tones on it and this duck egg blue background here. I think she hits the bill because she is a mix really between steampunk and futuristic, but either way she's my choice for the first prompt. The second prompt is something that you find in the desert. Well, originally I was going to go with a bedouin tent, and as one of the other prompts is to use a language other than your native language, I was going to go with Bedouin Arabic for that prompt. But there was just no way that I could get the Bedouin tent to work with this image, even if I decided I was going to do a very surreal collage today. So I opted for an easy option and I went with dried flowers, because you get dried flowers in the desert. And the nearest I could come up with for dried flowers, sorry that's moving, was this little die cut. So I thought I would make use of that. The next prompt is a leftover art scrap you'd normally throw away. You will have seen me use these in the past. It's just some old packaging tissue paper that I had a little experiment with, playing with some distress spray stains. Now this one I particularly didn't like because of this circular splodge here of spray stain. What I wanted when I was creating these was a nice splattering going all the way across it, like up here. This is a little bit too heavy, but this certainly isn't, this circle of spray. So whilst I've still got it in amongst my stash, I probably never would have got around to using this, either using it on that side. So obviously I've got to make use of it today. The next prompt is food packaging or a food label. We had melon for our dessert last night, fresh melon, so I rescued this label off my melon. It is, or it was, still sticky, so I've just stuck it to a scrap of lightweight card, so that's what you're seeing on the back there, but trust me, it was an original food label. A candle or candlelight is the penultimate prompt. I've got this tiny little image here of a tea light or a small candle, and you are seeing a pencil circle around it. I made a little template out of some scrap vellum. I hope you can see that. There we go, some scrap vellum, and I've just traced that circle round the outside of my candle because I'm going to cut that out. So I just wanted to explain what that line was that you were seeing. And finally, the bonus, text other than English or your native language. Well, this is the Bedouin Arabic. As far as I'm aware, this doesn't say anything. It shouldn't say, it only gives some directions or traffic directions. So I've printed this out again on a scrap of cardstock. I may well still use it. Don't know at the moment. It hasn't photocopied particularly well. As you can see, it's lighter down this side than it is on this left hand side. To be honest, I have no idea which orientation it's supposed to be. If I don't use that, then I will resort to my usual favourite, which is some text here in Chinese or Japanese. I believe it goes that way round. As you can see, it's just a scrap. Might have a bit too much of a border down here that needs chopping off, but as you can see, it's just ripped away here. So I've got two options there to play with. So I'm going to pop this one up there in front of me, bring in my scrap and see which way round I want it to go. As you can see, it's more or less trimmed on three sides to fit inside my working border, which is more out of luck than, than choice. Which one of these? Probably will bring in that one. I'm not liking all of this dark blue splodging going on up there, so I'm going to maybe move this tissue paper down. I'm going to move it in a little bit as well so that I've got equidistant border on either side. Probably will need to chop it off a bit more at the bottom. Let's bring in my image And I'm just going to put her in the middle, and that's actually working quite well. I don't mind that splodge too much there. Can't cover it up and get more of the orange unless I move it right over. And I know I've got more blue splodges over on the left hand side of that tissue paper. Probably going to bring that down a little bit more to get rid of that blue splodge at the top there, which moves that up a little bit. Now, because I haven't got a Bedouin tent or Bedouin theme going on here, I can change that out if I want to. I'm really pleased with the colour tones here, because whilst that's not duck egg blue, it is a blue with greeny tones in, which will work with that. And there is a little bit of rusty coloured there. There is also green on it, which I wouldn't ideally have, but this was the best label I could come up with. Because I've got this staggering going on down here, this is the place that this obviously needs to go, and I could bring that in there like that. Feels a bit quirky, but that's the whole nature of some of these prompts when we actually try working with them. I'm going to fussy cut this out now, because the reason I've got that circle around there is because I thought I could make use of this sort of earpiece that she's got going on there. Now I could put that on there like that, but with that white border it just feels a bit odd. It almost makes it feel like I've got this bit and then this going on in the background. That doesn't work. It might work if I took away that white border, so I'm going to just trim away that white border and have a look and see what it looks like. But I think the idea I had originally would be to cut that circle and put it in there. But let me trim away that white border first and see what that looks like. Now that is much better. It does blend into the background a lot better. I think I'm going to go with my original idea, which is to cut a circle around that candle and pop it in there. So I'm just going to do that now. There we go, like that. Just want to have a look and see what this looks like behind here. So I'm going to trim off the top there. I am going to leave that for the moment. I may well chop a bit off there, but just for now I'm just going to level off this top portion a little bit. I do have a slight reservation about using this because it's got red on it, which this one hasn't, and there's no red on my piece here, so I'm not sure whether this will work, but I thought it might be nice just to have a look before I commit to using the other piece. And I think I had it something like that. It does go over more to the right hand side than this piece did because it's wider, which is fine. I could actually just trim it off down there, but it is shorter here, so I'm not sure whether this would work. But yes, it does. Okay, yep. I think I like this better for the simple reason that this is slightly blurred. This is obviously a lot clearer and the lines are more defined, and it almost ties in with these little bits going on here under her chin. So I like all of that lot. I just need to decide whether or not I am going to trim it down there or not. But to do that, I need to have a look and see where that blue splodge was up there, because that's what I'm trying to hide. Just going to fold that back. Okay, I'm liking this better, so I'm going to trim off this portion at the bottom here. Just need a little bit off the bottom here, really. I'm going to trim that portion down there. So this I would have down here. I'm trying to decide whether to trim away the white edging on this picture, and I've decided I will do. Before I put her back in place on my piece here, I'm going to put a bit of glue underneath this text so that it's glued to my tissue paper. And I'm going to glue both pieces to my background. Just used Pritt stick and very, very carefully just touching it down onto my background. And that went down quite well. I'm pleased with that. So I'm going to glue this in place, and again I'm going to use Pritt stick for this. And have her something like that. Again, just smoothing out with my bone folder. I'm going to go in with my art glitter glue for this. As I said, a bit bizarre having a food label on here, but it was the only way I could get this prompt to fit in. Now I've got this to get on here. And what I thought I could do with this was to follow the line of her head off the image onto this writing here. I'm just going to snip away a little bit down here. And what I want to try and do is marry it up so that I've got the flowers, or the stems of the flowers, following that piece of piping there. So I've just snipped a small portion off and I've got it positioned up here. Just wondering how to make use of the rest of this, whether I do need to make use of it or not. I could continue on the flowers a little bit further on and maybe use that portion there. I was also wondering whether I could use the remainder of it down here and just kind of make a little bit of a feature going on down here and just soften up that a little bit. It does feel out of place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip off this little bottom portion down here, like that. See what it looks like up here at the top, continuing on her headdress. This would be moved out and down a little bit. I've been trying to decide whether to have this offcut down here positioned like that or not at all. Whilst I have the background colour more or less the same between these two, I actually think that that just softens this label up a bit. So I'm going to use it like that down in this bottom left hand corner. And to me, if I have it more onto the label than going off onto the image and having that as the background, it is slightly more subtle than if I have it out here. Yeah, I'm going to have it like that. So I'm going to do the fiddly trick and put some glue behind it, and it is fiddly. You just have to put the tiniest of little dots behind on these little pieces. Hope you don't get too much, and then just gently press it into place where you want it, like that. So gently do the top half. And there we go, everybody. That's my finished assignment for this week. I hope you like it. Let me bring in my prompts and go through those with you. Steampunk or mechanical, that's my image here. Something found in the desert, well, I went with this die cut to represent dried flowers. Leftover art scrap you'd normally throw away. Well, this one worked perfectly at the end of the day. The blue is not a perfect match for my background, but I do have these slightly darker blobs occurring in one or two places, so I think it blends okay. Food packaging or food label, well, I went with my honeydew melon label there. A candle or candle light, well, I went with my tiny little candle here. And the bonus text other than English or your native language, and I went with this Asian text in the background there. As always, everybody, thank you for watching and for being with me and sharing some of your day with me. I really do appreciate it. Until next week and assignment number 47, have a fantastic week. Whatever you're doing, whether it's crafting or otherwise, have a fantastic week. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye now.